You're listening to Parenting Our Future with certified parent coach Robin McMahon, author of The Yelling Cure and founder of Parenting for Connection. My podcast is all about providing you with the tools and solutions you need in your parenting so you can create the family you always wanted. Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting Our Future. All right, you guys, let's make sense of 2020 and put it behind us. Let's look forward to 2021, and I have just the person to help us do this. I am so happy to welcome back Jillian Bolanz, who is a sparkly, wonderful human being who is just going to take all of us in her arms and make us feel so safe and so good and help us to move through the trials and tribulations of 2020 so that we can really embrace and thrive in 2021, no matter what we're in for. So Jillian, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. And please just let everybody know really what you do and how you help people.
Oh my gosh, I just want to give you a hug right now. Like I want to just be able to squeeze you. So yes, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And friends, yeah, just like cozy in because we're going to talk about energy. We're going to talk about cyclicality and embodiment in a whole new and different way for some of you. And I just want you to imagine like I'm coming in and I'm handing you a warm mug of hot chocolate and wrapping your shoulders with a blankie. Like we're just going to get cozy with this. And it's going to be really fun and hopefully eye-opening for some of you. But as Robin said, I am Jillian Bolanz. I'm an intuitive life coach. I help women uncover the truth of who they are, utilizing cyclicality, utilizing ancient wisdom and seasonality, and really helping them to learn how to utilize their own intuition. And I know that we've got both mamas and dads that listen to this podcast, Robin. So I know that I said that I serve women and I help women with this, but I think the power with the conversation we're going to have today is this information really pertains to everybody. I'm going to talk about women a lot because cyclicality has to do with or we have a connection with our female cycle to cyclicality of all things. And dudes, you're going to get so much information that's going to help you make sense of what is going on for your partner and your daughters and, all of the women in your life. So I think this is going to be really powerful for everybody.
Well, I love that you just called them all dudes, and I'm sure they're super happy about that. That's great. Okay, dudes and mamas.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Jillian, my first question's a big one. How do we make sense of 2020? How do we make sense of this year?
Oh, I just want to invite everybody to take a deep breath, like actually do it. Robin, you and I are going to do it, okay? And because I know that most of you didn't think I was serious, let's take another one. Okay, good. So here is my take on 2020. And I know how challenging and trivial and freaking hard and unbearable many parts of this year have been. I know that, I get it. And also I know the magic and the miracles that have unfolded in the strangest of ways, in potentially the darkest of places. And I also know that we must be willing to look for those miracles. I want to say that I have deep reverence for those who were really, really negatively impacted by the COVID-19 sickness, because yes, we all had to quarantine. We all had to do our own different things with that. But I know that many people did suffer deeply, deeply, deeply with this. So this year was
saying that. Yeah.
And it's a real thing, right? And so we're not just going to pretend like we can just sugarcoat everything, because you can't actually sugarcoat anything, but we get to find the magic in the mess. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today, and hopefully in new and different ways that are going to inspire something in you and kind of cause like that deep level of remembrance within you. So we started this conversation with a deep breath, and I believe that 2020 has been inviting us. It happened. Everything that happened was to invite us back to our breath. Because Robin, what happens for us consistently that we don't have to think about among all the crazy bazillion things out there? We still breathe, right? We are here. we are breathing, and we are worthy.
Hmm.
And we don't often think about those three things. But as we breathe and as we remember how to get back to our breath, what that actually does energetically is it pulls us into the moment of now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because so many of us live in the pain and the sorrow and the regret of the past. And then so many of us live in the, I got to hurry up and get there, like the anxiety of creating a future that's not quite ready yet, or you're not there yet. So you're shaming yourself in many different ways. And so we live in this mindset, and really like our whole experience is either taking place behind us or in front of us. And getting back to the breath is all about being here in our sacred bodies right now. So a number of different things happened this year to get us back to our breath. And it's been really hard for those of us who have been programmed to just put your head down and run, and don't think and don't feel and just move and keep moving. And we were all the way I like to think about it is in the beginning of 2021, there was a big divine feminine energy that showed up. So think about this. It's like when mom gets home and witnesses the house is a mess, right? Like mom gets home, house is a mess. Kids are yelling, everything is everywhere. Mom gets mad, right? Like mom is mad and sends everyone to their rooms. That's what I actually think about this year, right? Like Mama Earth.
Beginning of 2020. Yeah.
Beginning of 2020. Mama Earth took a look around and she's like, you people have made a mess. What is actually happening? So there was, legit, go to your room. Like there was a pandemic that was a one having to do with our respiratory system, right? That was stifling our breath. And again, I say that tenderly and with a lot of grace, but literally, I mean, coughing is one of the biggest symptoms of COVID. So it was stifling us. So this was the way that Mama Earth was like, all right, everybody go to your rooms. And so we had to quarantine, we had to shut down. And for many of us, that was actual hell on earth because we had to stop.
We had to shut down and slow down.
We had to shut down and slow down. We couldn't work. We couldn't go out and see people. We couldn't numb ourselves out with experiences or running so fast that you just like can't keep up with yourself, so you can't feel it. So we literally had to go to our room and think about it while Mama took a second to get back to her breath, right? And so what happens when Mama sends everybody to their room? She has a second to breathe. Yes, it gives everybody that quiet time that they need.
But Mama cry too.
Yeah, oh, she cries. She cries. But she's able to breathe. And so think about what happened. Streams started clearing up. The fog and the smog started clearing up. We could see distances that we haven't been able to see before because Mama could finally get back to herself. She could finally start to heal within herself, right? The metaphor hopefully is not lost here. It's like, this is a moment of uncomfortability, but it's in these moments of rest and quiet that we can actually heal the things that have been hurting for a really, really, really long time. And mamas and daddies, if you have been in this overworking, overproducing, go, I'll sleep when I'm dead mentality, then you needed that rest in order to really be able to heal. And also, it was probably really hard. So there were new levels of hard associated and thrown on top of what was already happening that was creating the hard in the first place. Well, Robin, what questions do you have? Because I feel like that's a good place for you to hop in.
I think that we've been through so many ups and downs through this, right? Like at first there was this, okay, this is kind of interesting. I kind of like slowing down. I'm good to slow down a little bit and, spend some more time with my kids and connect with my kids on another level. And then it's like, okay, I think I'm overwhelmed now, spending so much time with my kids, working from home, learning from home, doing all this stuff. And then there was sort of a break in the summer where we started to sort of just like relax a little bit. And now at this particular point in time, we're recording this at the end of November, and I just finished, as I was getting ready today, just finished watching our Prime Minister, not say there's a lockdown, but say, hey, don't go out if you don't need to, all of this stuff. So we've been on a roller coaster too. And one of the things that I know for sure is that, the breath helps us in so many ways. For one reason, technically speaking, there is a connection between the lungs and the brain that says when I'm breathing deeply and slowly, I'm safe. So I can just relax, right? And anxiety doesn't have to take over. That's why we say breathe. And I know it sounds like a cliche. I know it sounds like, oh, just breathe, but actually do it. No, really do it. Breathe
No, for
deeply,
real. Yeah.
intentionally. Yes, breath is automatic and comes and goes, but deep breathing is intentional to bring us back to the present moment, like you said, back to our center. But I also want to acknowledge that, the reason why we have anxiety, and before this pandemic, we would have said that anxiety is you being at war with what is, right? With what is actually happening right now. However, during this pandemic, and let me sort of say that you're at war with what is, but that anxiety is actually here to keep you safe. And so that was not the, I don't know how else to say it other than that was sort of the mispurposing of the actual anxiety. But now the anxiety is here to serve us in a way that it protects us from predators. And there is a predator out there now. That's COVID-19. There is there is something out there that is attacking our survival. So I do also want to acknowledge that the anxiety you're feeling is normal and it's natural and it makes sense. So don't shame yourself for it. Don't beat yourself up for it, and breathe.
Right.
And breathe.
I remember a time earlier this year, I think it was probably April-ish. And I had my newest son. So I'm a mama of 3 boys. So moms, I get it. I get
Yes, you
what
have a newborn.
I had a newborn. He was born 3 weeks before we locked down. So, I remember this moment, and I had been going back and forth with my coach, and we were working through because I experienced postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, because if we think about it, so everything is energy. And if everybody in the world is feeling like that fight, flight, or freeze, as you were talking about, Robin, like that deeper level of anxiety, like predator around, like alert. If everyone in the world is feeling that, then the energy of that is in the mass consciousness. So it's in the collective consciousness. And even if you're having a hunky-dory day, if you are a person that is a deep feeling person, you can tap into that really quickly. And so any trigger can really put you into that. So I was out for a walk. I was carrying my newborn who he slept on me. And Robin, you know this to be true. He slept on me every single day, every single moment of the day. I wore him in a carrier because he had reflux. So he couldn't actually go down. He just would not go down for a nap. I worked with sleep people, ladies. So I know there's some of you out there like, you should have worked with somebody. I did. And what together we uncovered, it was like, no, he just needs to be close. Also, our babies can be really sensitive. So let's just say that, like, they're experiencing what we're experiencing. We just have some big girl and boy words for it. They don't. So imagine the anxiety that you're feeling. Like, our kiddos have the capacity, even the tiniest of them. So I say that, but I also am going to say, let's not focus on that, because that doesn't have to define them. But if we're aware of that, which is so much of what we're going to be talking about, Robin, like having the awareness and then proactively moving forward with it to better support yourself. Anyway, getting back to my story, I was walking around. My 2 other ones, they were 6 and 3. They're 7 and 4 now, but they were 6 and 3 at the time. And they're on their scooters, and it was freaking windy in Maine this spring. It was windy. So, like, talk about getting back to your breath. Like, the wind was even trying to take my breath away. But Mama Nature is blowing the air, right? So I saw the metaphors everywhere. And in that moment, I realized how much I had been trying to resist what was. And
Mm,
when we resist what is, that actually causes a deeper level of anxiety in all of us,
exactly.
because I had been focusing on the hard of this. Wearing a
Mm,
baby for 4 months from sunup to way after sundown is no joke. Physically, emotionally,
mm,
it's taxing. And as I was doing it, I recognized how often I had been wishing I was anywhere else but there. And in that moment, as we were walking around, I said, oh, what if I just allowed myself to be here, to surrender into what is, not like throw in the towel and say, fine, but like do what I
mm,
can to stop resisting this and
mm,
just allow for it to come in. And in that moment, I alleviated so much for myself because I suddenly wasn't spending energy trying to be somewhere else. I was allowing myself to energetically be present. And as you said, as we breathe intentionally, we get to be consciously present. So from that moment on, that mantra became mine. I'm consciously present right now. I'm consciously present right now.
I think that that is really huge.
Yeah.
Just, and I want to say it back to you in how I heard you,
Hmm.
to give yourself permission to
Hmm.
just accept what is
Hmm.
and stop resisting.
Yeah.
I energetically just felt, oh, like,
Yeah.
yeah, right? Like my whole body was like, yep, that sounds right. And so we can give ourselves permission to just accept what is. In fact, that's all there is what is happening right this moment, right? Because if you are stuck in the past or you're worried about the future, that's fear, right?
Hmm.
And we don't want to be in fear because we don't make good decisions when we're scared and in fear.
Right.
But if we can embrace what is, okay, we can also give ourselves empathy when we embrace what is. Say,
Hmm.
you know what, this is really hard. And I'm sure that's what you said to yourself with your baby, saying like, okay, I can embrace this, and I can also acknowledge that it can be tough for me, but I am
Yeah.
here stepping up to the challenge that is, this moment in time. And I
Hmm.
also think that, how, we're often at war with what is happening in our lives. And I've gone through tough times myself this year alone, never mind the rest of my years. um and so what I keep coming back to is, should this, like, when you question it, when you want out of this situation or this circumstance, well, I feel like this shouldn't be happening to me. But the reality is that if it's happening, it should be happening. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be happening. So
And it
let's
gets to happen to you,
it
right? And
gets
so
to, yes,
it
that's such a
gets
great
to.
change. Yes.
Yeah, and the way that you simplified everything that I said, Robin, was so perfect. And that's step one, because I want to give you a step two. Like, we want to make this tangible for your listeners. So,
Yes.
step
Yeah.
one for kind of making sense of this year and looking back and even looking where you are right now, it's okay. What's happening right now that I'm resisting so
Mm.
much,
What am I
right? And
resisting?
how can I surrender that so that I can acknowledge and be where I am and be with what is. And now, step two of the process is we do not have to look at our reality and believe in it. And I'm going to expand upon that
Okay,
because
can I okay, before you
yeah,
do,
yeah,
I want to clarify the surrender, because
yes,
surrender is not you in a ball in the corner rocking yourself. Surrender is, and I'll let
hands up.
you even, it's hands up saying, yes,
Mhm.
I surrender and I accept. It's an acceptance. It's not throwing in the white flag or
No,
towel or whatever,
it's
right?
freeing yourself. My understanding and relationship with surrender is self freedom. It's understanding that you're not in this alone and the universe does have your back, and everything, even though there are really, really freaking hard things that happen, they are for you
Hmm.
so that you can be more with yourself and you can stand for yourself and you can choose love over fear. I mean, Robin, you were just talking
Yeah.
about fear. It's love over fear. And every single moment that you allow yourself to surrender, what you actually are doing is allowing yourself to feel free and be supported in love. So apply whatever spiritual term feels best to you
Mm,
here. Call it the universe, call it God, call it goddess, call it divine source of love, call it angels, whatever it is that makes you feel connected to
mm,
divine consciousness and to that oneness, that wholeness. Apply that here. Insert this here. When you
mm,
surrender, you allow yourself to be held, and you get
mm,
to remember that it's not just you here, right? And so many of us this year felt completely alone, and so we tried to
yeah,
white knuckle it through, and then this year we're like, and then as we experience more and more, we're like, oh, I can't white knuckle this anymore. And it was a
yeah.
mirror for how most of us have actually been running our whole lives, is white knuckling it and
Mm,
just putting our head down and forcing our way through. So for me, this year taught me that I don't have to force anymore. And I'm at the point where it's like, that's actually not an option for me to force my way
mm,
through anymore. It's not an option because I just can't. My body will physically shut down. I will cry. I will want to sleep because I know that this life is meant to be, right? Gets to be made
mm.
up of more of an ebb and a flow and a wax and a wane, right? Just like the moon waxes and wanes up there. The moon doesn't decide she's going to be in one phase of her cycle the entire cycle long, right? She's not full up there for 30
Right.
days in a row. No matter what, anything can happen. The moon is still going to wax and wane up there. The seasons, right? Like there is not one year that the earth is like, I just think we're going to stay in winter the whole year long, right? Like that doesn't happen.
That's so
So
true.
why do we as
Yeah,
cyclical energetic beings feel we can operate in one way all the time? So
uh,
that surrender piece allows for
yeah.
us to remember and tap into our deeper power, which is our intuition and our
Mm,
cyclicality and our breath, and allows for the universe to support us. I always joke around. I'm like, do you actually want to be God? Like, think about that. Think about all the responsibilities that God has, right? Or, and again, call it whatever you want, but
yeah.
let's use the term God here. Do you actually? I don't want every single responsibility that God has. Many of us walk around trying to control all the things
Yeah.
as if we want to be God. But when it comes right down to it, I don't want all those responsibilities. I would like a little bit of support here, please. Right. So I think so much of this year has been calling us into this deeper level of remembrance of, if we stop resisting, we open up and surrender, we allow ourselves to be consciously present where we are, we get to be with our breath. And then the second piece to that is remembering that we get to create the future that we desire. So yes, we need to surrender into the moment. And I'm going to put a caveat here. If you are experiencing something that is literally putting you in harm's way, abuse of any form, or just, a really bad situation like that, then I'm not talking about surrendering, and that's okay, right? Like, please seek help and get support and get guidance if
Well,
you're in a
yes, of
situation
course.
like that,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Like that. I
definitely.
just felt like that had to be said because it just feels important. But oftentimes once we have kind of surrendered into what is, people are like, okay, well, if this is what is, this is how it's always going to be. So I use this example a lot of like your bank account, like people staring at their bank account and being like, oh gosh, there's this money in there, which means this money isn't in there, so it's always going to be
Mm,
that way. So as we surrender into what
mm,
is, I want to remind you that next step in the process is allowing yourself to dream into the future that you want to create. If you're
mm,
consciously present now, then allowing yourself to be there and to increase the vibration of that, to get
mm,
excited about what could be coming, as
mhm.
opposed to being fearful of what could be coming.
Yeah. I think that's really great. And everything you said about surrender, I mean, when we talk about control, that's fear. Right?
Hmm.
That's all that is fear because you're scared, right? And surrender is making a choice to accept. So it's
Yeah.
not fear, it's acceptance. And, you're talking about God, you're talking about the universe, and whatever anybody believes. What just keeps coming back to my mind is that poem Footsteps, right? Where
Hmm.
two sets of footprints on the sand, and then it goes into one when it was the hardest, and that was, no, I carried you.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was that.
Those were
Yeah,
my footprints,
beautiful.
not yours. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful
And what
poem.
you're talking about here is coming, instead of from a lack perspective, leaning into abundance. That is something that is so foreign to most
Yeah,
people, and is
totally.
is a muscle you've got to exercise, right?
Totally, right? Like let's go back to me in that moment walking with my babies, right? So I surrendered into what was. I stopped resisting what was. I didn't focus on, okay, I guess I'm just going to have to surrender to the fact that I'm going to be a walking zombie. I said, no, what I'm going to do is surrender into the fact that this could be fun. I could be
Yeah.
playful here. If I
Mm,
am not wishing myself out of this situation, then what
mm,
could I do that would be really exciting and fun and powerful in the situation? How could I connect with my sons even better? How could I actually get a little bit more sleep if I stopped like wanting to like do all the things and just said, I can't do all the things with a sleeping baby on me all the time, right? I'm going to
exactly.
go rest. I invited in so much more rest and so much more fun when I stopped
Mm,
wanting to be somewhere else and I allowed myself to be consciously present with where I was, but choose fun instead,
yeah, that's
right?
awesome.
Choose support and connection instead.
I love that. That's so great. That's so great. Okay, so number one is stop resisting. Number two is we get to create the future that we want for ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
What's next is understanding that, and I think this is a beautiful like wrapping 2020 up in a beautiful
Mm,
package. So many of us have been taught and programmed to function in a very linear manner,
yeah,
right? And so I
yeah.
alluded to this a few minutes ago with like putting your head down, getting to work. So like speaking to you parents out there, think about your day. Right, on a typical day, because I imagine a typical day is going to represent the majority of your days. What's happening, right? Like you wake up, you chug through breakfast, you've got to corral all the tiny humans that you're responsible for. You either have to go and get to work, or you got to figure out how you're going to corral the tiny humans and work from home, right? Like you've got to maybe brush your teeth if you're lucky, right? So you've got all of these tasks that you got to do. And so you go to work and you're on the hamster wheel and you're just doing the thing. And then it's dinner time and you're home and then we're at
Hmm.
bedtime and then you go to bed too late because it's like, oh my gosh, I like have had no time for me. So I'm going to numb out in front of the television, or I'm going to scroll on social media, and then I'm going to go to bed too late, wake up tired again, and then we're going to go through the same thing over and over, right?
Do
Like,
you know my life? Like, have you seen every single day of my life? No. My humans aren't as tiny. They all are as tall as me now. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that is uh that is just every day. Yes.
well, I wanted to say, like, I wish I could see all the listeners and say, put your hands up, right? And I feel like
Yeah.
everybody, myself included, could say, yep, been there, done that, own the
Yep.
t-shirt and the trucker hat, right? Because that's how we have been programmed to function. We
Yeah.
have been taught that it is a start line and a finish line, and we've got to put
Mm.
our head down and get there, right? And if we can just survive through the day, then we've done something right. We're not focusing on thriving. We're not
Yeah.
focusing on participating in life. We're usually not focusing on fun or asking ourselves what we want to do. We just
Well,
have these tasks laid out in front of us that we've got to figure out how to bulldoze through and caffeinate through each and every
right. And
day.
what we're doing is we're depleting resources that we don't even have, like mental,
Exactly.
emotional, physical. That's
Yes.
not okay. That's not good. You're
No.
not going to show up as the spouse, as the parent, as the professional, as the daughter, as the, whatever it is, as the sister, as the friend that you want to be when you don't have anything left, right?
Yeah.
It's so
Yes.
important what you're saying. Kate, I'll let
It's
you
so
go.
important.
Keep
So
going, girl.
no, we have been, I want you to just think about life pre-2020, right? Like that's what it was for so many of us. We were all seeking for those external validations, the external applause. It was all like very focused on how can I do more? And if I feel like I've failed along the way, then I must not be working hard enough, which means you sacrifice yourself even more, right? So we're on this vicious perpetual line that never seems to end except for like the moments that we have to sleep during the way along the way.
Mm.
So the third part to what I really feel is so important to talk about and will potentially present a new paradigm for a lot of your listeners, I hope, is that we were never meant to function in a linear way anyway.
Hmm.
We are cyclical beings.
Mm.
We ebb and flow, like I said, just like the moon, just like the seasons. There are times of, and especially with women, pertaining to our female cycle, it's 29 days, so that's almost a month. So when people say, oh, is it that time of the month again, and they used to say it was with such crassness and such meanness, it's like, no, it absolutely is that time of the month again for every single bit of what we do and experience, because we women, our hormones, our needs, our desires, they
Mm.
ebb and they
Mm.
flow throughout the course of the month. The way that we want to eat, the way we
Mhm.
want to exercise, the way
Mm.
we want to communicate with other people, right? There are times of the month that I'm like, let's go out and hug all the people and do all the things. And then there are other times of the month that I'm like, oh, no, I am going only as far as the couch with
Yeah.
my blankie and a book, and nobody's allowed to talk to me for 3 days. And for
Mm.
me, I started following the moon cycle to help me with that, because I didn't have, my bigger story is that I didn't have a natural period for 14 years. So my babies are actual literal miracles, particularly my third one, who I did not go through the IUI process on, but he followed the moon cycle, healed my body, got a period, thought that was the end of the miracle, and then got pregnant with him. So like miracles abound when we start tapping into cyclicality. So for this year, understanding that this is not meant to be a race, that there is no there's no
Mm.
medal waiting for you at the proverbial finish line that you have created for yourself, whether it's impressing your boss or baking the best cookies or, whatever it is that you are slaying yourself over. We don't have to work and function that way anymore.
Mm.
So, looking back, if we're going to do a recap of 2020, I invite you not to just look at the moments and the experiences, but look at how you felt during different times of the year. Look at how you felt during different times of the month. Is there a time of the month that you are feeling particularly tender? This is a key to you not to continue functioning as you always
Mm.
do, but to go a little slower on yourself. Are there times of the month that you feel like you could walk on water? Then those are the times that, yeah, go out there and like start planting the seeds and bringing those dreams to fruition. We are not meant to live a life on a line that is never changing on a 24-hour day basis. We are meant to ebb and flow. And so going into 2021, which Robin, I know we're going to do next in our
Yeah, part
next
two is
episode.
coming up. Yeah, we're almost done here. Yeah.
We have so much opportunity to tap into who we truly are, what we truly want to do, and to live a more fulfilled life where we are connecting with
Mm.
our partners, with our children, with our parents, with our colleagues in deeper, meaningful ways,
Mm.
because we're not depleting ourselves by trying to function a way that's not even in our best interests to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what I mean, this whole and I've been there, done that for a long time, especially in
Same.
my corporate career, right? Yeah, and I know you have too. And I think, so often there are so many times where, people will, reflect on their life in later years and say, why did I do that? Why did I
Yeah.
let my life pass me by when I was healthy, when I was free from pain, when I was like physical pain? Because as I get older, things hurt more. Why didn't I embrace life when I could? And so this is your invitation right now. If you are hearing this right now, then this is the message that you need to hear. Okay. So this means you you can do that. You can say, no, I don't need to hustle like this. I can stop. I can have a different way and turn my life in a direction that works for me. And we are going to do that in part 2. We're going to set some intentions for 2021. We are going to look at 2021 in a way that you haven't looked at a year ahead before. So Jillian, thank you for today. And we are going to see you next week when we talk about how we set intentions. Thank you so much for everything.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this edition of my podcast, Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon, and if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my work, I would be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating. For those of you who like my content and want more, visit me at yellingcurebook.com to get your copy of my book and to find other resources to help you. Until next time, I am wishing you and your family peace and connection.